The sky above Kalos burned with fire. Explosions lit up the horizon, their orange glow reflecting off the metallic spires of the Veyrathi capital city. The air was thick with smoke and ash, choking the lungs of those who dared to breathe it. Buildings that had stood tall for centuries now crumbled into rubble as the Zenari fleet unleashed wave after wave of devastating attacks. Hai-Jin crouched behind a shattered wall, his hands trembling as he clutched a small device in his palm. It was one of his inventions, a prototype shield generator, but it wasn't working. Not yet. His mind raced, trying to figure out what was wrong. He glanced at the chaos around him. Civilians ran through the streets, screaming, clutching children and belongings as they fled the destruction. Soldiers shouted orders, their voices barely audible over the deafening roar of falling debris and enemy fire. "Hey, Jin!" a voice called sharply. He turned to see Un-Suk sprinting toward him, her armor scorched and dented but still intact. She carried a plasma rifle slung over her shoulder, its barrel glowing faintly from recent use. Her face was streaked with dirt, but her eyes burned with determination. "What are you doing here? This area is about to collapse." "I'm close," Hai-Jin replied, his voice shaking. "If I can just stabilize the energy output—" "There's no time for this," Yun-Suk snapped, grabbing him by the arm and pulling him to his feet. "We need every soldier we've got if we're going to hold them back." Hai-Jin hesitated, looking down at the device in his hand. It was his last hope, the only thing that might give the Veyrathi a fighting chance against the overwhelming force of the Zenari. But Yun-Suk was right. They were losing ground fast, and staying here would mean certain death. Reluctantly, he tucked the device into his belt and followed her deeper into the city. The streets were littered with wreckage. Craters pockmarked the ground where Zenari bombs had struck, and the once pristine towers of the Veyrathi now leaned precariously, some already reduced to smoldering ruins. The air smelled of burning metal and ozone, a constant reminder of the war raging overhead. In the distance, the hum of Zenari ships filled the sky, their sleek, insect-like designs casting ominous shadows over the battlefield. So Yun-Suk led Hai-Jin to a makeshift command center set up in the basement of a crumbling government building. Inside, soldiers huddled around holographic maps, plotting desperate strategies to slow the Zenari advance. The mood was grim. Everyone knew the odds were against them. The Zenari had superior numbers, better technology, and no mercy. For weeks they had pushed the Veyrathi forces back, inch by bloody inch, until there was almost nowhere left to retreat. "We've lost the eastern quadrant," one officer reported, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "Their ground troops are advancing faster than we anticipated." "And reinforcements?" Yun-Suk asked, though she already knew the answer. "None," the officer replied. "Our allies are either too far away or too afraid to intervene. We're on our own." Hai-Jin listened silently, his heart sinking. And he had always believed in the strength and ingenuity of his people, but even he couldn't deny the truth staring them in the face. Without help, Kalos would fall. And when it did, the Zenari would enslave or exterminate every living soul on the planet. As the meeting continued, Hai-Jin wandered to a corner of the room, pulling out the prototype shield generator again. He examined it carefully, running his fingers over its intricate circuits. If only he could fix it. If only he could make it work. It might buy them enough time to regroup, to find a way to fight back. But the problem eluded him. Every attempt to stabilize the energy flow ended in failure, leaving him frustrated and drained. Hours passed, and the situation grew worse. Reports came in of more districts falling to the Zenari, of civilians being rounded up and taken prisoner. Yun-Suk tried to keep morale high, rallying her troops with speeches about courage and sacrifice, but even she couldn't hide the fear in her eyes. They were running out of options. It was late in the evening when Hai-Jin noticed something strange. As he adjusted the settings on his device, a faint signal appeared on its display. a blip of energy coming from somewhere beyond the atmosphere. At first, he thought it was interference, a glitch caused by the Zinari bombardment. But as he fine-tuned the sensors, the signal grew stronger, more distinct. It wasn't random noise. It was real. "Yunsuk," he said urgently, waving her over. "Look at this." She frowned, leaning closer to examine the readings. "What am I looking at?" "It's... I don't know," Hai-Jin admitted. "Some kind of energy signature. Yes, it's moving fast, heading straight for us." Yunsuk's brow furrowed. "Could it be the Zinari? Another attack?" "No," Hai-Jin shook his head. "This is different. It's not like anything I've seen before." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The implications hung heavy in the air. If it wasn't the Zinari, then who or what was it? Hope flickered briefly in Yunsuk's chest, but she quickly suppressed it. False hope was dangerous, especially now. "Keep monitoring it," she instructed. "Let me know if it changes." Hai-Jin nodded, returning to his work with renewed focus. Whatever this mysterious signal was, it was their only lead, and possibly their only chance. Outside, the battle raged on. The Zinari pressed their advantage, pushing deeper into the heart of the city. Fires raged unchecked, consuming everything in their path. The cries of the wounded echoed through the streets, mingling with the thunderous booms of collapsing buildings. It was a scene of utter devastation, a testament to the brutality of the Zinari Empire. But amidst the chaos, something shifted. High above the planet, a new presence entered the fray. A massive ship emerged from the void, its sleek, angular design unlike anything the Zinari or the Veirathi had ever seen. Its hull gleamed silver under the light of Kalos's twin suns, and its sheer size dwarfed even the largest vessels in the Zinari fleet. On board the Invincible Dawn, Captain Ji-Yun stood on the bridge, gazing down at the embattled world below. Beside her, Admiral Kyung-min studied the tactical displays, his expression unreadable. "They're losing," Ji-Yun murmured, her voice tinged with sadness. "Badly." Kyung-min nodded. "In orders?" Ji-Yun didn't hesitate. "Engage. Show them why humanity doesn't tolerate bullies." As the Invincible Dawn descended into orbit, its weapons systems came online, bathing the surrounding space in an eerie blue glow. The Zinari fleet, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. But it was too late. The humans had arrived, and they weren't here to negotiate. Back on the surface, Hai-Jin and Eun-Suk watched in stunned silence as the tide of the battle began to turn. The Zinari ships faltered, their formations breaking apart as the Invincible Dawn unleashed its fury upon them. For the first time in weeks, the Veirathi dared to hope. The arrival of the Invincible Dawn changed everything. Its weapons cut through the Zinari fleet like a blade through paper, sending shockwaves rippling across the battlefield. The sleek human warship moved with precision, each shot calculated and devastating. Plasma beams sliced through enemy vessels, reducing them to burning husks that drifted lifelessly in space. Within minutes, the once dominant Zinari forces were in disarray, their ships scattering in retreat. On the surface of Kalos, Hai-Jin and Eun-Suk stood frozen, staring up at the sky as explosions lit up the atmosphere. The Zinari bombardment had stopped abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence broken only by the distant rumble of collapsing debris. For a moment, no one spoke. It was as if time itself had paused to acknowledge the sudden shift in power. "What? What is that?" Eun-Suk finally whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. Hai-Jin didn't answer. His eyes were glued to the massive ship hovering above the planet, and its presence both awe-inspiring and intimidating. He had never seen anything like it before, not in any database or historical record. Whoever these newcomers were, they wielded technology far beyond anything the Veirathi possessed. "They're helping us," Hai-Jin said softly, his tone filled with wonder. Whoever they are, they're on our side. Yun-suk nodded slowly, her mind racing. She had spent weeks fighting a losing battle, watching her people suffer under the relentless assault of the Zenari. Now, salvation had arrived in the form of this mysterious ship, but who were these strangers, and why had they come? Before she could dwell on the question further, a message crackled over the comms system. A calm, measured voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, the universal language used for interstellar communication. This is Captain Ji-Yoon of the Human Warship Invincible Dawn. To the inhabitants of Kalos, we have neutralized the immediate threat. Stand by for further instructions. Human? Yun-suk repeated, frowning. I've never heard of them. Neither have I, Hae-jin admitted. But they saved us. That's all that matters right now. Word spread quickly among the surviving Veirathi. Soldiers and civilians alike gathered in the streets, gazing upward at the towering silhouette of the Invincible Dawn. Some cheered, tears streaming down their faces as they realized the nightmare might finally be over. Others remained cautious, wary of trusting yet another foreign power after the horrors inflicted by the Zenari. Meanwhile, aboard the Invincible Dawn, Captain Ji-Eun paced the bridge, her sharp gaze fixed on the holographic display showing Kalos below. An Admiral Kyung-min stood nearby, arms crossed as he studied the data streaming in from their sensors. They're damaged, but holding together, Kyung-min observed. Their infrastructure is in ruins, but their spirit seems intact. Ji-Eun nodded. Good. We'll need them if we're going to finish off the Zenari for good. Prepare a landing party. I want to meet their leaders face to face. Within hours, a shuttle descended from the Invincible Dawn, touching down in what remained of the Veirathi capital. Ji-Eun stepped out first, followed closely by Kyung-min and a small contingent of human soldiers clad in sleek white armor. Their appearance drew gasps from the crowd. Unlike the insectoid Zenari or the slender, elegant Veirathi, the humans were tall and broad-shouldered, their features strikingly different yet undeniably strong. And Yun-suk approached cautiously, flanked by Hae-jin and a few of her officers. She studied the humans carefully, noting their confident posture and the advanced weaponry strapped to their belts. Despite their imposing presence, there was something reassuring about them, a sense of purpose that radiated from every movement. I am Commander Yun-suk of the Veirathi Defense Force, she said, bowing slightly in greeting. On behalf of my people, I thank you for your intervention. Ji-eun returned the gesture with a respectful nod. Captain Ji-eun of the Invincible Dawn, this is Admiral Kyung-min. She gestured to the man beside her, who offered a brief salute. We received your distress signal months ago. Apologies for the delay. We were dealing with other threats in the sector. Yun-suk blinked in surprise. Months, and they had assumed no one would answer their call for help. Yet here these humans were, arriving just in time to save them. We owe you our lives, she said sincerely. But may I ask, why did you come? Kyung-min stepped forward, his expression grave. The Zenari Empire has been a thorn in humanity's side for years. Their aggression knows no bounds, and we cannot allow them to continue unchecked. When we detected your signal, we saw an opportunity to strike back, not just for your sake, but for the safety of the entire galaxy. Hae-jin listened intently, his mind buzzing with questions. These humans spoke with authority, as though they were accustomed to taking charge. But there was also a warmth in their demeanor, a genuine desire to help rather than conquer. Come, Yun-suk said, gesturing toward the makeshift command center. Let us discuss how we can work together. Inside, tensions simmered beneath the surface. While some Veirathi welcomed the humans' assistance, others viewed them with suspicion. One elder council member, a frail but outspoken figure named Yun-ju, voiced his concerns openly. How do we know they won't turn on us once the Zenari are gone? He demanded, glaring at Ji-eun. For all we know, they could be worse than the Zenari themselves. Ji-un met his gaze steadily, unfazed by his hostility. We understand your fears, she replied calmly. But humanity does not seek conquest. Our mission is to protect those who cannot protect themselves. You have my word. We will leave as soon as the threat is eliminated. Her words seemed to ease some of the tension, though not everyone was convinced. Hai-Jin, however, found himself drawn to the human's confidence and clarity of purpose. As the meeting progressed, he began sharing details about the Zenari's tactics and weaknesses, hoping to contribute to their shared goal. Later that evening, Ji-un and Kyung-min toured the ruined city, accompanied by Yoon-suk and Hai-Jin. The devastation was sobering, even for seasoned veterans like the humans. Entire neighborhoods lay in ruins, their former beauty reduced to piles of rubble and ash. Survivors huddled in makeshift shelters, their faces etched with exhaustion and grief. It's worse than I imagined, Ji-un murmured, shaking her head. How long have they been attacking you? Nearly 2 months, Yoon-suk replied bitterly. They gave us no warning, no demands. They simply came and started destroying everything. Kyung-min clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. Cowards. They prey on those weaker than themselves. Hai-Jin glanced at the humans, noting the anger simmering beneath their composed exteriors. There was more to their hatred of the Zenari than mere principle. It was personal. Whatever history existed between humanity and the Zenari, it ran deep. As they walked, Hai-Jin pointed out areas where the Zenari had deployed experimental weapons, describing their effects in detail. Ji-un listened intently, occasionally asking questions or offering insights based on her own experiences. By the end of the tour, a tentative bond had formed between them, a mutual respect born of shared adversity. That night, under the watchful eye of the invincible dawn, the Veirathi began the slow process of rebuilding. With the humans' help, they erected temporary shelters for the displaced and restored basic utilities to key districts. The mood among the survivors improved slightly, buoyed by the knowledge that they were no longer alone. But the peace was fragile. Scattered reports came in of rogue Zenari units still operating in remote regions, refusing to surrender. Though the main fleet had fled, pockets of resistance remained, determined to carry out their mission of destruction. As Hai-Jin worked alongside the humans to repair damaged systems, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The Zenari wouldn't give up so easily, not when they had invested so much in conquering Kalos. And while the humans had proven themselves capable allies, Hai-Jin knew they couldn't stay forever. Still, for the first time in weeks, and he allowed himself to feel a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, with humanity's guidance, the Veirathi could rise from the ashes stronger than before. Perhaps together, they could drive the Zenari from their skies for good. The days following the arrival of the invincible dawn were a whirlwind of activity. The humans worked tirelessly alongside the Veirathi, their advanced technology breathing new life into the shattered city. Power grids flickered back to life, water systems began flowing again, and communication networks hummed with renewed energy. For the first time in weeks, the people of Kalos dared to imagine a future beyond survival. Hai-Jin found himself spending most of his time at the heart of the rebuilding efforts, collaborating closely with Lieutenant Su-yong, one of the human officers assigned to assist the Veirathi. And she was unlike anyone he had ever met. Sharp-witted, fiercely determined, and endlessly curious about the Veirathi way of life. Her questions ranged from technical inquiries about their engineering methods to more personal ones about their culture and history. Hai-Jin appreciated her genuine interest, even if it sometimes caught him off guard. "You're not what I expected," he admitted one afternoon as they worked together to repair a damaged reactor core. "I thought humans would be colder, more focused on results than relationships." Su-yong chuckled, wiping grease-streaked hands on her uniform. We are focused on results, but we've learned that you can't win wars or rebuild worlds without trust. If we want to help you stand on your own 2 feet again, we need to understand who you are." Her words struck a chord with He-Jin, and he realized that the humans weren't just here to fight. They were here to teach. Every interaction, every shared moment seemed designed to strengthen the bond between their species. It was a subtle but powerful form of diplomacy, one that resonated deeply with the Veirathi. Meanwhile, Yun-Suk spent much of her time strategizing with Admiral Kyung-min. The two leaders had developed a mutual respect over the past few days, forged through late-night discussions and joint planning sessions. Kyung-min's calm demeanor and wealth of experience provided a steadying influence for Eun-Suk, whose fiery passion often bordered on recklessness. In turn, Eun-Suk's unyielding determination inspired Kyung-min, reminding him of humanity's own struggles during its darkest hours. "We've faced enemies like the Zinari before," Kyung-min told her one evening as they reviewed tactical maps in the command center. "They rely on fear and intimidation to break their opponents. But when you show them you won't back down, they falter." Yun-Suk nodded, tracing a finger along the map. "That's why we need to hit them hard and fast. Show them we're not afraid anymore." Kyung-min smiled faintly. "Exactly. And with your knowledge of the terrain and our firepower, we'll make sure they regret ever setting foot on Kalos." Despite the progress being made, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Not everyone among the Veirathi trusted the humans. Some viewed their intervention as a temporary fix, fearing that once the immediate threat was gone, humanity would abandon them to fend for themselves. Or others worried that relying too heavily on human technology would erode their independence, leaving them vulnerable in the long run. These concerns came to a head during a meeting of the Veirathi Council, where Yoon-ju, the same elder who had questioned Ji-eun's motives earlier, voiced his objections loudly. "We cannot let these outsiders dictate our future," he declared, slamming his fist on the table. "If we grow dependent on their machines and weapons, we'll lose ourselves entirely." Yoon-Suk stepped forward, her voice firm but measured. "No one is asking us to abandon our identity. The humans are offering us tools to defend ourselves, not chains to bind us. We must decide whether we'll use those tools wisely or squander this chance out of pride." Her words silenced the room, forcing many to reconsider their stance. Not even Yoon-ju seemed taken aback by her conviction, though he remained skeptical. As the debate continued, He-Jin quietly observed the dynamics at play. He understood both sides of the argument. On one hand, the humans' assistance was invaluable, providing resources and expertise the Veirathi desperately needed. On the other hand, there was merit to Yoon-ju's fears. Dependence on external aid could weaken their resolve in the long term. Determined to find a middle ground, He-Jin approached Ji-eun later that day. He found her overseeing repairs to a communications array, her sharp eyes scanning the work with practiced precision. "Captain," he began hesitantly, "may I speak with you?" Ji-eun turned to face him, her expression softening slightly. "Of course. What's on your mind?" "I've been thinking about how we can ensure the Veirathi remain strong after you leave," He-Jin explained. "Your technology is incredible, but some of my people worry it might overshadow our own abilities. Is there a way we can learn from you without becoming reliant on you?" Ji-eun considered his question carefully. "It's a valid concern," she admitted. "But strength isn't just about weapons or machines. It's about adaptability, resilience, and unity. Our goal isn't to replace your systems. It's to give you the tools to build something better." She gestured to the bustling activity around them. "Look at what you've accomplished already. You're learning quickly, adapting to challenges faster than I anticipated. No, that's proof that you don't need us forever. You just need a little help getting started." He-Jin nodded slowly, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. Ji-yeon's reassurance gave him hope that the partnership between humans and Veirathi could thrive without compromising either side's autonomy. The fragile peace was shattered days later when reports came in of a surprise attack on a remote Veirathi settlement. A rogue faction of Zinari loyalists, unwilling to accept defeat, had launched a brutal assault on civilians. Dozens were killed or captured before the survivors managed to send out a distress signal. When news reached the command center, Yoon-suk immediately sprang into action. "We have to respond," she said firmly, addressing Kyung-min and Ji-yoon. "If we don't stop them now, they'll keep striking until there's nothing left." Kyung-min agreed. This is exactly the kind of opportunity they're looking for, to divide and conquer. We can't let them succeed. Within hours, a combined force of human and Veirathi soldiers mobilized, led by Soo-young and Yoon-suk. As they approached the targeted settlement, the devastation became clear. Buildings lay in ruins, fires still smoldering amid the wreckage. Survivors huddled together, their faces pale with shock and grief. Soo-young knelt beside a young boy clutching a tattered blanket, his wide eyes filled with terror. "Where are the attackers?" she asked gently, using a translation device to communicate. The boy pointed toward a nearby ridge, his small hand trembling. "There. Hiding." Without hesitation, Soo-young signaled for her team to move out. They advanced cautiously, scanning the area for signs of movement. The Zinari ambush came suddenly, catching the rear flank off guard. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, forcing the Allied forces to take cover. Yoon-suk barked orders, rallying her troops to hold the line. "Stay focused. Don't let them flank us." Soo-young moved like lightning, her movements fluid and precise as she countered the Zinari assault. Drawing on years of combat training, she directed her squad with remarkable efficiency, exploiting weaknesses in the enemy's formation. Together, the human-Veirathi alliance pushed forward, driving the Zinari back step by step. By the time the battle ended, the rogue faction had been neutralized. Survivors were rescued, and the bodies of the fallen were recovered with solemn reverence. Though victorious, yet the cost of the skirmish weighed heavily on everyone involved. Back at the command center, Ji-yeon addressed the gathered leaders, her tone grave but resolute. Today proved that the Zinari won't give up easily, but it also proved something else, that together we're stronger than they are. This victory belongs to all of us. Her words resonated deeply, solidifying the bond between humans and Veirathi. Through shared sacrifice and unwavering determination, they had forged an alliance capable of facing any challenge. As night fell over Kalos, Hae-jin stood atop a hill overlooking the city. The scars of war were still visible, but so too were the signs of renewal. Lights flickered in restored buildings, laughter echoed in rebuilt streets, and hope burned brightly in the hearts of the people. For the first time in months, when Hae-jin allowed himself to believe that the future might hold more than just survival. With humanity by their side, the Veirathi could rise stronger than ever, and perhaps together they could drive the Zinari from their skies for good. The days that followed the skirmish against the rogue Zinari faction brought a mix of relief and unease. While the victory had bolstered morale, it also served as a stark reminder that the war was far from over. The Zinari Empire, though weakened, remained a formidable threat. Intelligence reports intercepted by the humans revealed troubling news. The Zinari were regrouping, consolidating their forces in preparation for a counteroffensive. Hae-jin spent long hours poring over data in his makeshift lab, searching for any advantage they could exploit. His prototype shield generator still wasn't functioning properly, but he refused to give up. Each failure only fueled his determination to succeed. He knew that if he could perfect the device, it might tip the scales in their favor when the final battle came. One evening, as he worked late into the night, Yoon-suk entered the lab carrying a tray of food. "You need to eat," she said firmly, setting the tray down beside him. "You're no good to anyone if you collapse from exhaustion." Hai-Jin glanced up briefly, offering a tired smile. "Thanks. I'll take a break soon." Yoon-suk crossed her arms, raising an eyebrow. "Soon isn't good enough. You've been pushing yourself too hard. What's driving you like this?" He hesitated, staring at the half-finished device on the table. I feel like we're running out of time. And the Zenari are coming back stronger than before, and I don't know how much longer we can hold them off without anything that gives us an edge." Yoon-suk placed a hand on his shoulder, her expression softening. "We'll figure it out. Together. But you can't do everything alone." Her words struck a chord with Hai-Jin. For so long he had carried the weight of his people's survival on his shoulders, believing it was his responsibility to save them. Yet now, surrounded by allies who shared his burden, he realized he didn't have to face the challenge alone. As dawn broke over Kalos, Captain Ji-un convened a meeting aboard the Invincible Dawn. Alongside Admiral Kyung-min, Lieutenant Su-young, Un-suk, and Hai-Jin, she laid out the grim reality of their situation. "The Zenari have acquired new technology," Ji-un explained, "or projecting holographic images of enemy vessels equipped with unfamiliar weapons systems. Our analysts believe they've scavenged these upgrades from conquered worlds, possibly even from species they've already wiped out." Kyung-min stepped forward, his voice steady but urgent. "This changes the game. They're not just rebuilding, they're evolving. If we don't act quickly, they'll overwhelm us." Su-young nodded, her sharp eyes scanning the room. "We need a plan, and fast. Something that hits them where it hurts." Hai-Jin listened intently, his mind racing. As the discussion continued, an idea began to form. Rising from his seat, he addressed the group. "There's something I've been working on. A relic buried beneath the surface of Kalos. It's ancient, predating even our civilization. If my readings are correct, it contains information about the Zenari's weaknesses." Ji-un raised an eyebrow. "A relic? Are you sure it's safe to excavate?" "I'm not certain," Hai-Jin admitted, "but it's our best chance. If we can unlock its secrets, it might give us the upper hand we need." After some deliberation, the decision was made to proceed with the excavation. With the help of human engineers, Hai-Jin located the artifact deep within a cavern system near the planet's equator. The journey there was perilous, requiring teams to navigate treacherous terrain and fend off Zenari scouts. But eventually, they reached the site. The relic was unlike anything Hai-Jin had ever seen. A massive crystalline structure embedded in the rock, it pulsed faintly with an otherworldly light. As he approached, a surge of energy coursed through the air, then causing the lights on his equipment to flicker wildly. "This is incredible," he murmured, awe evident in his voice. "It's some kind of database, millennia old, yet still functional." With Ji-un and Yoon-suk looking on, Hai-Jin interfaced his device with the relic. Streams of data flooded his screen, detailing the history of the First Galactic War, a conflict that had nearly destroyed all sentient life. Among the records were blueprints for Zenari technology, vulnerabilities in their defenses, and strategies used by ancient civilizations to defeat them. "This is exactly what we needed," Ji-un said, her tone filled with quiet triumph. "Now we know how to fight back." Using the information from the relic, the humans and Veirathi devised a daring plan. They would launch a coordinated assault on the Zenari stronghold, and targeting key installations identified in the ancient records. The operation would require precision, timing, and absolute trust between the two species. Preparations moved swiftly. Su-young trained Veirathi soldiers in advanced combat techniques, teaching them how to operate human weaponry and execute complex maneuvers. Meanwhile, Yoon-suk oversaw the deployment of ground forces, ensuring every unit was ready for the mission ahead. As the day of the attack drew near, Tensions ran high. Everyone knew the stakes. If they failed, the Zenari would crush them without mercy. Yet amidst the anxiety, there was also a sense of unity. Humans and Veirathi stood side by side, bound by a shared purpose and unwavering resolve. On the eve of the battle, Hai-Jin found himself standing outside the command center, gazing up at the stars. And the invincible dawn loomed overhead, its silhouette a comforting presence against the vastness of space. He thought about everything they had endured, the losses, the sacrifices, the moments of hope, and felt a surge of pride. "Can't sleep?" a voice asked softly. He turned to see Su Yong approaching, her armor gleaming faintly in the moonlight. She offered him a small smile. "Big day tomorrow." Hai-Jin nodded. "Yeah, I just keep thinking about how far we've come. A few weeks ago we were fighting to survive. Now we're planning to win." Su Yong placed a hand on his shoulder, her grip firm but reassuring. "That's because we've got each other. No matter what happens, remember that." Her words stayed with him as he returned to the command center, where the final briefing was underway. Ji-Yun stood at the forefront, addressing the assembled troops with quiet authority. "Tomorrow we strike back," she declared, her voice echoing through the room. "Not just for Kalos, but for everyone who has suffered under the Zenari's tyranny. Together we will show them that fear is no match for courage, and oppression cannot stand against unity." The crowd erupted in cheers, their spirits lifted by her words. For the first time in months, the future seemed bright. Not because the road ahead was easy, but because they faced it together. As the meeting concluded, Hai-Jin lingered behind, watching as the soldiers dispersed to prepare for the battle. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that every effort they had made, every risk they had taken, had led them to this moment. The Zenari were coming, but so were the humans and the Veirathi. And when the two sides clashed, the galaxy itself would tremble. The final battle began at dawn, with the invincible Dawn leading the charge. Its massive engines roared as it descended into orbit above the Zenari stronghold, its weapon systems glowing with lethal energy. Below, the combined human Veirathi forces prepared to strike, their ranks brimming with determination. The air was thick with anticipation, every soldier aware that this was the moment they had been fighting toward. Hai-Jin stood at the edge of the battlefield, clutching a modified version of his prototype shield generator. Thanks to the data from the ancient relic, he had finally perfected the device. It wasn't just a defensive tool anymore, it could now disrupt Zenari communications and disable their advanced weaponry. Though untested in combat, yet it represented their best chance to turn the tide. "Ready?" Yun-Suk asked, appearing beside him. Her armor gleamed under the rising sun, her rifle slung over her shoulder. She looked calm, but Hai-Jin could see the tension in her eyes. "As ready as I'll ever be," he replied, forcing a smile. "Let's finish this." With a nod, Yun-Suk signaled for the advance. The ground forces surged forward, moving in tight formations as plasma fire erupted around them. Overhead, the invincible Dawn unleashed a barrage of missiles, targeting key installations within the Zenari fortress. Explosions rocked the landscape, sending shockwaves rippling through the air. Su Yong led the first wave of the assault, her movements precise and calculated. She directed her squad with sharp commands, exploiting weaknesses in the Zenari defenses exposed by the relic's data. Behind her, Veirathi soldiers followed closely, their newfound training evident in their coordinated attacks. Despite their efforts, the Zenari fought back fiercely. Their remaining fleet launched desperate counterattacks, attempting to overwhelm the invincible Dawn. Plasma beams sliced through space, narrowly missing the human warship as it maneuvered with incredible agility. On board, Captain Ji-Yun coordinated the orbital bombardment, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. "They're trying to flank us!" Admiral Kyung-min shouted, pointing to a cluster of enemy ships approaching from the rear. Ji-Yun didn't hesitate. Divert power to the aft shields, launch fighters to intercept. Within moments, the squadrons of human starfighters streaked past the viewport, engaging the Zenari vessels in a dazzling display of speed and skill. Explosions lit up the void as the fighters tore through the enemy ranks, buying precious time for the ground forces below. Back on the surface, Hai-Jin activated his shield generator, creating a shimmering barrier that protected the advancing troops. As the Zenari weapons struck the field, their shots dissipated harmlessly, giving the Alliance a crucial advantage. Encouraged by the success, Yun-Suk pressed the attack, leading her soldiers deeper into the heart of the stronghold. Inside the fortress, the resistance grew fiercer. Zenari warriors emerged from hidden passages, ambushing the invaders with brutal efficiency. The narrow corridors became a labyrinth of death, each step forward earned at great cost. But the humans and Veirathi fought side by side, their unity unshakable even in the face of overwhelming odds. It was during one such skirmish that Hai-Jin noticed something unusual. A faint hum emanating from a sealed door at the end of a hallway. His sensors confirmed what he suspected. Behind that door lay the central command hub of the entire Zenari operation. If they could reach it, they might cripple the enemy's ability to coordinate their forces. "We need to get inside," Hai-Jin told Yun-Suk urgently. "That's where they're controlling everything." Yun-Suk nodded, signaling for reinforcements. Together, they breached the door, encountering heavy resistance from Zenari guards. The firefight was intense, but eventually they broke through, entering the command hub. What they found inside stunned them. A towering holographic display dominated the room, showing real-time updates of the battle raging outside. At the center of the chamber stood the Zenari commander, a hulking figure clad in ornate armor, its multiple eyes glinting with malice. "You should have stayed out of our way," the commander growled, raising a weapon charged with deadly energy. Before it could fire, Su-Yong appeared, having fought her way into the room alongside a small team of elite soldiers. With lightning-fast reflexes, she disarmed the commander, pinning it to the ground. "It's over," she said coldly, pressing her plasma blade against its throat. "Surrender or die." The Zenari hesitated, then let out a guttural snarl of defeat. Its forces, cut off from their leader, began to falter. One by one, the remaining pockets of resistance collapsed, and until the battlefield fell silent. As the dust settled, the survivors gathered amidst the ruins of the stronghold. The humans and Veirathi stood together, their faces etched with exhaustion, but also triumph. For the first time in months, there was no sound of gunfire, no shadow of fear looming over them. They had won. Captain Ji-Yeon addressed the assembled crowd, her voice carrying across the scarred landscape. "Today, we proved that unity is stronger than division, that courage can overcome fear. The Zenari thought they were invincible, but they underestimated us. Together, we showed them the power of standing side by side." Her words were met with cheers, the sound echoing like thunder. Hai-Jin watched as humans and Veirathi embraced, sharing tears and laughter. In that moment, he realized that the bond forged in battle would endure long after the scars of war had healed. In the weeks that followed, the humans assisted the Veirathi in rebuilding their world. The Invincible Dawn remained in orbit, its crew working tirelessly to ensure Kalos would never again fall victim to tyranny. When the time came for the humans to depart, the Veirathi gathered to bid them farewell, their gratitude evident in every gesture and word. As the massive warship ascended into the stars, Hai-Jin, Yun-Suk, and the others stood watching, their hearts filled with hope. They knew the road ahead would not be easy, but they also knew they had faced the worst and emerged victorious. The galaxy had trembled at the arrival of the humans, and now it trembled again, not with fear but with awe. The story of Kalos would spread far and wide, as a testament to the strength of those who refused to surrender, no matter the odds. and though the humans were gone, their legacy remained. The Veirathi had risen stronger than ever, united by the lessons they had learned and the bonds they had formed. Together they vowed to protect their freedom and to honor the allies who had saved them when all hope seemed lost.